December is kind of a big month for Disney Vacation Club members. And I mean, some of you might not even realize that that's the case, but in actuality, this is when the annual condo association meeting takes place. And while this can be a stuffy, rather boring event in and of itself, lots of business, nuts and bolts, stuff like that, it's also our opportunity to get a little bit of insight into what DVC is thinking about and what some changes in the future might be. It's also an opportunity for members to make their way to the condo association meeting in order to share some of their concerns. Of course, there are other ways to go about doing this. We've talked about them in the past, but if you really want to be there, you really want to be in the magic, the condo association meeting might be your best opportunity to do just that. Now, DVC condo association meetings, they're kind of hit or miss, whether or not they're actually going to be productive in any way, whether they're going to be informative in any way. Oftentimes, there are a lot of non-answers that get tossed out at condo association meetings, a lot of the we'll look into it type of thing, the stuff that we deal with day to day in regular life. Why on earth would we want to deal with this when it comes to something Disney related? But as a Disney Vacation Club member, being an owner in a real estate interest, this can be an area that is of interest to a lot of members, myself included. And this year was no exception. And honestly, it might be of interest to some of you who aren't Disney Vacation Club members, but use Disney Vacation Club through DVC rentals. Of course, if you're here, you already know what we're talking about, but I want to dig into whether or not DVC rentals are on the chopping block at any point in the future, because that seemed to be the most interesting tidbit that we got from DVC's condo association meeting this past December. Of course, I'm referring to December 2024 for any of you who might be joining us for this conversation at some point in the future. Now, I know that at least some of you, a handful of you, have used Disney Vacation Club point rentals in the past. Some of you, it's like the way that you do Disney. So I just want to take a second and I want to say, yes, you should be here having this conversation with me right now, because this is something that I do think that you need to know about. But I also just want to take a second and say, you might want to brace yourself because you might not like what I have to say. Still, being informed is important, and that's what we're doing here. Also, for DVC members who have had a lot of finger wagging at DVC for the way that they handle DVC rentals, this might be news you're excited about. And if you didn't already know about it, you're about to learn some things. So get comfortable, grab yourself a drink, buckle up, and let's dig in. So really just breezing through this for anyone who's joining us for a Disney Vacation Club discussion for the first time. Disney Vacation Club, aka DVC, is a membership program. Very similar to a timeshare. It is technically a timeshare, though it has some differences that make it a little bit more flexible. It's a little bit of its own thing. But in a nutshell, the way that it works is Disney Vacation Club members buy contracts that allot them a certain number of points that they can use every year, and they can redeem those points for stays at Disney Vacation Club properties. But those points, they expire. And look, for those of you who are about to correct me and put more detail in the description, totally, you're welcome to do that, but I'm keeping things in a nutshell for our new friends who are joining us for the first time. Anyway, if you can't use your Disney Vacation Club points, you have a few options. You can bank them, you can borrow them. We've talked about this before. You can check out our Disney Vacation Club playlist if you want to learn more about the nuts and bolts when it comes to all of these things. But another option that's available to you as a Disney Vacation Club member is to rent your points. Essentially, you're letting someone else use your points, right? You're renting them out. That person is paying you for your points. You're getting a little bit of money. They're getting a good deal, and everyone's happy. This is part of what Disney has offered in order to give their members a little bit of flexibility, because Disney Vacation Club members do pay dues annually, and those dues, they can be quite a bit of money, goodness knows, with the dues just being released. I just found out how much I'm going to have to pay for my annual dues for Beach Club, and yikes. But look, here's the thing. It still can be a fantastic deal for some Disney Vacation Club members, but when you can't use your points, you don't want to be paying for something that you don't have access to, right? So Disney does give us the freedom to be able to rent those points out, recoup a little bit of funds, put that to our dues, and everyone's happy. But there's a little bit of a problem, and this problem has probably always been a thing, but it's really been apparent following 2020. There's a whole story as to why that's the case. But anyway, so there was this huge push for people to stay at Disney Vacation Club properties in order to still get their vacations in, but they started to see that Disney Vacation Club properties were pretty cool. And you could stay at these properties by renting points for a significantly lower rate than if you were to pay the rack rate, or what Disney was charging for these Disney Vacation Club rooms. Because at Disney Vacation Club properties in their villas, while they are for Disney Vacation Club members, you can also rent those rooms for cash as well. I know I'm spitting out a lot here, so bear with me. Anyway, this has led to a rise in DVC rental companies. They've been popping up all over the place. People have been renting out their points like nobody's business, and this has turned into a little bit of a problem for Disney Vacation Club members. Because not every Disney Vacation Club member who's renting out their points is doing it because they just won't be able to vacation this year. There are a lot of people out there who are buying up resale contracts, renting out DVC points, and never staying at Disney Vacation Club properties. Like literally, they're only renting out points to turn a profit. And this is an issue for a few different reasons. Of course, there's the issue for Disney Vacation Club members. We'll get into that here in a second, but it's also an issue because this is against our contract. It's against Disney Vacation Club rules. It's just not allowed. And yet it still happens, probably because there's a lot of gray area here. But for the members themselves, it becomes a huge problem because oftentimes, especially myself, this is something that I see all the time, I've talked about before, even though we buy Disney Vacation Club properties, we pay our dues, there are times when you want to stay in a particular place in a particular category of room, and you can't find that. It's not available, but if you wanted to rent points, you could. And this is possible because what happens is people who are well versed in Disney Vacation Club, they understand the ins and outs, the booking windows, and they understand what dates will get them the most profit. They go in at their 11-month window, they book up those popular rooms on those popular dates, and then immediately put them in as confirmed reservations so that they can rent them through a third party, a Disney Vacation Club point rental store, in order to, again, turn a profit. So people like myself who really want to be able to stay at their home resort, for example, just can't. Even though I'm well versed in when to book, even though I'm on top of booking right when I need to, my only option is to pay another Disney Vacation Club member in order to have the vacation that I am already paying for with my membership. And that just doesn't seem fair, does it? Certainly doesn't seem fair to me, and it doesn't seem fair to a lot of other Disney Vacation Club members who have raised concerns in the past, which is one of the reasons that this was one of the topics, especially that caught my attention at this year's condo association meeting. So it seems like the board of directors at DVC is well aware of this issue, and they're doing things in order to try and fix the problem, make adjustments and potentially even make new rules or put new rules in place that would ensure that people who are Disney Vacation Club members who want to use their membership have the opportunity to do that, and people who are abusing the system and going against their contracts are, handled. The DVC Vice President of Member Experiences and Club Management touched on this during the condo association meeting. They clarified that renting Disney Vacation Club points as a member, renting your points out because you might not be able to use them or whatever the case may be, that's something that is allowed. And it's something that Disney Vacation Club allows so that members can have flexibility with their points, especially during years when they won't be able to use them. But they also commented on how there are people who rent out their points as a commercial venture, and it's a very frequent occurrence for them. And that right there is what they're trying to actively go after. And yeah, they are actively going after people who are breaking this particular rule. Now, what exactly that means, we're not entirely sure yet, but we did also hear from the Disney Vacation Club Vice President and General Manager who said that they are adding resources to their core team in order to pursue this and make sure that it's fair. The Executive Director of Business Operations also weighed in, just saying straight out that this is against the rules of Disney Vacation Club. You just can't use your Disney Vacation Club membership commercially. And look, this isn't the only thing that Disney Vacation Club has done in past years in order to try and make the experience for Disney Vacation Club members a little bit better. And I know there are some of you out there who are rolling your eyes and you're going, they're not doing much. I hear you. I understand. It can definitely feel that way. But if we take a step back, zoom out a bit, we can see that yes, some changes have been made in order to hopefully make membership a better product, even though it still lacks in some areas. A great example of this is resale restrictions. Putting limitations on members who purchase up Disney Vacation Club contracts on the resale market means that we might see less of people buying Disney Vacation Club contracts just so that they can stay at properties outside of their own property. I know there are restrictions and limitations in place that prevent you from booking outside of your home resort before a certain period. You know, there's like the 11-month mark and the 7-month mark, but that's not foolproof. It still leads to problems. And I think that that's one of the things that Disney's trying to tidy up with these resale restrictions. You know, if you're going to buy a resale contract, you're gonna have to buy at a place that you really want to stay, especially with the newer properties, which is a change that will take some time to roll out. You know, it wasn't going to be something like we snap our fingers, Riviera hits the market, which is the first place that has those resale restrictions, and then all of a sudden all the issues with availability will be cleared up. I don't think that it's going to be that quick. But I'd also imagine that the resale restrictions were a phase one, if you will, making resale contracts a little bit less desirable, especially for those people who are purchasing for the sole purpose of renting their points. It limits the pool of where you can book and ultimately make sure that other more desirable resorts aren't clogged up with people who are renting points and people who purchase there, you know, their home resorts, or maybe want to check out this resort because they're thinking about buying in, have an opportunity. You know, it's not people who are habitually renting. But, you know, again, we'll just have to see how this turns out moving forward. And I think the same is true when it comes to anything that might be done by DVC to try and fix this problem with point rentals. And yeah, it is a problem, which I know is going to rub a number of you the wrong way because, you know, you rent points. Maybe you're one of those people who rents points habitually. You want to stay at Disney Vacation Club properties and you want to do that through point rentals because you can't or don't want to buy Disney Vacation Club membership, which is totally fine. You know, it's not for everybody, but maybe you don't want to stay at a moderate resort or a value resort for whatever reason. Everyone has their reasons and that's fine too. But I do think that there's something to be said for what that does for Disney Vacation Club members. And I do think that there needs to be some attention focused on Disney Vacation Club members who are the people who are investing in this product. You know, they're purchasing this product, and some steps need to be taken in order to ensure that they have access to that product. And yeah, as a Disney Vacation Club member, but also just as someone who's taken a step back and going, hold on a second, this doesn't seem to make sense. I do think that there should be a lot more focus there than on the people who are ultimately breaking the rules in order to turn a profit, you know, especially when it's so clearly outlined that this isn't allowed. But, you know, like everything else, how this is done, how this is implemented is going to have an impact on how I and those of you who are hanging out with me today feel about any adjustments that are made. You know, are we seeing major adjustments that actually don't do anything but add a ton more hoops that we need to jump through? Are we seeing a major change or what seems to be a major change implemented, but it actually isn't doing anything at all? Only time will tell. But still, I think it's worth noting that this is something that DVC is talking about, and it's something that should definitely be on your radar, whether you're a Disney Vacation Club member or whether you're one of those people who rent Disney Vacation Club points all the time. I actually think that it's really important for you guys to take this into consideration and think about how this might impact you moving forward. Think about some alternatives to renting DVC points maybe, or think up a backup plan. Because when this does, if this does like actually happen, we don't know that it'll be like this slow, fair rollout, because this isn't a fair act. You know what I mean? Like this whole thing where people are renting Disney Vacation Club points when they shouldn't be renting Disney Vacation Club points because it's purely for profit, that's against the contract again. So when they decide to drop the hammer, it's probably not going to be like a huge, long, gradual shift. It might be something that happens overnight. So, you know, especially as you're starting to plan your vacations for 2025, maybe thinking about what you're going to do beyond that, I think it might be worth having this in the back of your mind. Of course, we're going to keep an eye on this. We'll let you know what we know as soon as we know it. But until then, I'd love to know your thoughts, so pop them in a comment down below. Are you someone who rents Disney Vacation Club points all the time? What do you think about this news? If you're a Disney Vacation Club member, how do you feel about this? I'd love to hear what you have to say in a comment down below. But for now, I think that's about all. I'm sorry if I kind of soured anyone's day. I'm just sharing the information that's interesting to me as I learn it. And this is one of those pieces of information. So now you know too. And if nothing else, you can plan accordingly. So, you know, see the silver lining, I guess. Don't want to get caught off guard. And now hopefully you won't be. But yeah, I think that's about all. So thanks for hanging out. Enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Until then, bye.